spooky friends, and welcome to another episode of the Scariest Podcast.
Woo! Hello.
Hello. I'm Robin Grace, and this is Adam Diaz, and I'm pointing like someone's watching, but we're here to tell you some weird and interesting creepy things.
We are indeed. I'm actually really excited about this episode. I wound up picking a topic, and I had no idea what the fuck this thing was, and turns out it's awesome, and I can't wait to share it with you guys.
Nice.
Yeah.
Before we get into our homegrown horror, we want to remind you guys that we do have the contest going on. And if you haven't listened to previous episodes, we have a giveaway for our 500 like mark on Facebook. And so if you share, like, and tag someone in the episodes that release between September 5th and October 5th, that's an entry for each episode that you share, like, and tag a friend in.
You can also retweet on Twitter for an additional entry.
Yes.
This only applies to the episodes that are coming out during that time period, so September 5th to October 5th. So you can do the ones that have come out since September 5th or the ones that are going to come out, but don't go back and do the entire back catalog. As awesome as that would be, we don't want you to drive your friends insane with being tagged and shared with a bunch of stuff. And I know some of you guys would do it because you're just that crazy, and we appreciate that, actually. That dedication means a lot to us. But yeah, I hate you. We can't both say, but yeah. I was going to mark that to take it out, but I'll just leave it in.
All right.
But yeah, we appreciate everyone sharing the episode. We got like 5 new reviews this past week. We're up to 85 on iTunes.
Really?
They're all 5 stars. Thank you guys so much for doing that. It really means a lot. If you ever have time out of your day that you can pop over to iTunes and just leave, even a rating without a review works. We do prefer to get some feedback because you guys always have really great feedback. That works too. But
it always feels so nice when you guys say nice things. Like it. I know we say this all the time, but it makes us want to keep going.
Yeah, it really does.
So
it makes us want to do things even better. So like when I was doing my research this week and I was getting really excited because I was finding a lot of good stuff, I was like, I'm so happy people will get to listen to this because they deserve to listen to a good episode, and I don't want to give them a turd. So I hope I don't give you a turd this week.
But you are a turd.
I hate you. I hate your face. I hate your mouth. I like your voice, though, because it works.
I got a pretty mouth.
I hate you so much. Cool. We're going to move into homegrown horrors for this episode. Before we do, just a quick reminder, a homegrown horror is a personal experience that you've had or you know someone who's had that experience. You can email those to us at storytime@scarish.com. You can also go to facebook.com/scarishpodcast. You can like the page from there. You can message us from there if you'd like to send it to us that way. You can also go to the Scarish Spooky Friends group. I think I get that right every episode. I'm probably totally wrong. But that's the group that you can share stuff to as well. We have a bunch of stuff that goes on in there, like just people sharing memes a lot of conversation about episodes or how much we don't like certain things.
Yeah.
Zach Baggins. But you can jump in there and you can share your story for some instant feedback. You can also get a link to the Discord, and you can join the Discord. We're almost up to 100 members in the Discord server, which is super exciting. Or you can tweet at us at ScarishPod if your story is less than 280 characters, or if you just wanted to let us know. We have a lot of people tweeting at us, like tagging us and stuff. So I like to see that. There was something about Post Malone being in the same room as Zach Baggins.
Yeah, and like
when he
some
like
weird
took
shit
the Dybbuk
happened.
box out of its case and he was like, I've never done this before. It's like, you're a fucking liar.
I
One of the
knew.
only episodes I've seen of Ghost Adventures, you took it out of the fucking box. So he's full of shit. And I don't know. Zach Baggins apparently talked to TMZ, so I don't know if he reached out to them for attention or they reached out to him first. But it seems really shitty to me. I don't like him at all.
I think his ratings are Zach sagging.
That was really bad. We're just going to move out of this.
Okay. Don't forget, we also have a Patreon. So patreon.com/scarishpodcast. We have a whole bunch of different tiers, but please support us. It would be awesome.
It really does help us out a lot. We're moving to the point where we think we're going to be able to pick up some new merchandise for the studio setup, so that'll improve the quality of the production dramatically.
Yeah. And I want to get some actual merchandise made.
Yeah.
So
we're not going to do like everything through a service. We're going to actually try and get some fancier stuff taken care of. A lot of you guys keep requesting products. We actually really like it when you request products. Even if we can't get them made like on the spot, it's nice to see what you guys are thinking about and what you guys want.
Right.
So that's another good thing that you could mention on the page, in the group, on Discord, or tweet at us, because those are all very short. We had someone say like, we want spooky coasters. We've heard that multiple times. So
and the I hate you coasters.
yes. So,
yeah.
that's
and then Ko-fi.com, ko-fi.com/scarishpodcast.
It's great for one-time donations, and we have a goal up there for our studio setup, and we're doing pretty well on that so far. So And for those of you who want to watch the live episodes that we do for Storytime, we record it, and you can see us record it because we do it live, and we record it on Thursdays. No, fuck, that's wrong. We record it on Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So make the adjustment for yourselves, and you can watch us at twitch.tv/scarishpodcast or youtube.com/c/scarish/live. Because there's a lot of slashes in that. So if you want to come and watch us, go for it. Honestly, I post on the Facebook and in the Facebook group and let you guys know, like, the places you can just click. I just post a link so you guys can make it, like, super easy. And all you have to do is really schedule the time and come check us out. It's really, really, really fun. And if you're looking to contribute and have a message brought up to us live while we're recording the episodes, donating through Twitch actually lets you do that, and you get to attach a message to it. And I think if you donate over, like, $5, you get to pick, like, a custom, like, animation, like a GIF or a meme or something like that to have with your message pop up. So feel free to join us there. It's really, really, really fun, and it's completely free. You can just make an account or just go to YouTube. You don't even have to have an account, I think, to view YouTube. So either way, we appreciate all the interaction we've had so far with the Storytime episodes. They're super fun.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited to do this one. So let's jump into Homegrown Horrors. Are you going to go first, or am I going to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Okay, so this one is from Natalie, and it goes, "Sup, dogs."
Sup.
Sup. I would just like to share my story. I don't know if you will get to read this in time for my story to be in the podcast. Oh, you're fine. It's in the podcast. Welcome. But I hope so. I hail from Utah. I found your podcast on Spotify just recently, but now listen to it on Facebook since my job's Wi-Fi only works with Facebook. I hate that. I hate when they block all these websites, and I'm just like, I can't watch Crunchyroll on my phone. What?
I hate it when a job tries to make me work. I'm just kidding. I'm unemployed. Please hire me.
But I love the podcast. I listen to it at work since I work in a room alone and have no one to talk to. Aw, I'm glad we can be your company at work.
Thank you.
You guys make the day go by faster, so thank you so much. You're welcome. Anyways, I remember growing up in a home that I lived in for 6 years. A bunch of scary stuff not only happened to me, but to the rest of my family living there and one of my childhood friends.
I'm getting excited. I actually really like these stories where it's like, it not just messed with me, but it messed with other people too. When it's just you and it makes you feel isolated, that's the worst, and that gives me anxiety. But when it's like, no, it happened to multiple people, I'm like, yeah, let's get into this shit.
Oh my God. Okay. So I wanted to share what happened to me when I taught myself how to read tarot cards. Oh,
you're not helping yourself out by doing shit like that. I'm just saying.
I see on Kickstarter all the time. I see so many different tarot card Kickstarters, and I'm like, some of these look really cute, but I don't want tarot cards.
I don't know if I've told my tarot card story yet. I mean, we're 70 episodes in, so probably. An aunt of mine read tarot cards. She was very reluctant to do it most of the time, and I remember being a kid going over to her house, and the adults had us go to the basement. And it was a furnished basement, so like I was one of the older kids too, and they had their friends over, and their kids went down there with us. We were all playing video games, and I snuck upstairs, and my aunt was reading tarot cards for all the adults.
So they banished you to the basement?
They didn't want us to see it. They were like,
why couldn't they go to the basement? They're doing the creepy stuff.
I think my aunt was just like, no, it's my fucking house. I'll do whatever I want. So I went upstairs, and she was reading tarot cards, and they caught me, and they threw me out. And later on in life, like 5 or 6 years later, my mom wound up telling me what happened when they were all there. And it was the last night my aunt ever read tarot cards because they all got super freaked out because she was going through and like reading people's fortunes and letting them know stuff that had happened. And they had a couple that was there that they hadn't seen in a really long time. And they're having a good time catching up. And the guy's wife, or I could just say the lady, I guess I don't need to attach her to a man. She don't need no fucking man. She was very nice though. And
you don't need no fucking man.
She was like, can you read my fortune? She's like, sure. She's like, what do you want me to like? I don't know how tarot cards really work. You know, I've never been a part of it or been around it. But my mom was saying that as she was reading the tarot card, she was talking about something that had happened in her life recently and how it was traumatic. And she put one card down, and like cards don't mean exactly what you think they do in tarot cards. Like if you put down the death card, that doesn't mean like you're going to die. Like it means
depends
different
on the
things.
Surrounding cards.
Yeah,
and stuff.
It depends on like the context of it. And she put a card down, and my aunt stopped, and she looked up at her friend. She goes, "Did your dad kill himself?" And she just started crying her fucking eyes out. And she's like, "Yes, he did." And that was the end of tarot card night, and she's never read tarot cards since then.
That's crazy.
I heard that story when I was a kid. I was like, that is so cool. And I got older, and I'm like, I don't want to read tarot cards. But let's get back to this email. Sorry for hijacking it. You're welcome. Right. I guess that's what I do.
So, I was about 13 or 14 years old, can't quite remember, and I was talking to one of my friends on the phone. I asked her if I could read the tarot card to her. She said yes. I remember reading all the cards and getting her freaked out as I was telling her the card meanings. I guess I was spot on. After that, I don't remember what happened because I thought I'd woken up in my room, but I didn't remember going to sleep and turning off the lights.
That's fucking creepy.
I remember just feeling scared in my room, so I tried to run to turn on the light, but they wouldn't turn on. Just like Robin, I'm scared shitless of the dark. Yes, the dark is scary, and anybody who thinks otherwise, fuck you.
We have a lot of night lights in the house, just saying.
Yeah, the other day Adam was like, what's that blue light outside? And I didn't want to tell him it's the night light that's in the hall.
Why didn't you want to tell me that?
Because I'm a chicken. Okay.
Does that change the fact there's a nightlight in there? It was bluer than it normally is. That was the point I was trying to make, so I guess that went over your head.
So I go running to my mom's room. It was across the hallway, which was even darker than my room. My mom opens the door and her room has all of the lights on. As soon as I walk in her room, I'm naked. I tried covering myself and my mom tells me, don't cover yourself. It made me turn back to my mom and she's gone. Her room is dark, and all I can see is a green light from the living room. This is fucking freaky.
This has got to be a dream, obviously.
Yeah, but it's like, what kind of entity is like, no, I like you naked.
Yeah, it's not exactly what was said. You're making it creepier, so just power through this now.
That's what I do.
Oh my God.
I hear my mom, ask any of my friends, I always make it weird. I hear my mom screaming from the living room, and I start running towards her. My stepdad stops me and keeps repeating how stupid I am. What the fuck? As my mom is screaming and he won't let me pass through. As I'm begging him to let me go, the screaming stops. Then he tells me, you don't know who you're messing with. And at that moment, I wake up in my room with the lights on and the cards spread all over the floor of my bedroom. I book it to my mom's room and knock as I ask her to lay down with me in my room. We walk back to my room and I start getting so cold in my room that I shiver. Mind you, it was around 3 a.m. We lay down and my mom doesn't understand why I'm so freaked out. I keep shivering all night, even my teeth are chattering. I start getting a fever and my mom freaks out. But as soon as the sun comes up, everything stops. I'm back to normal. I didn't sleep that whole night after that nightmare. And I threw the cards away. See, I don't want to play with tarot cards. It's like...
I just don't see... I don't know. I don't understand the appeal. I mean, maybe you're going to give a reading that's not like 100% random bullshit.
Yeah.
And then you'll be super fucking creeped out. Or maybe, something happens like that. And you're like, oh, I really never want to do this again. I just had a horrible nightmare. I don't remember falling asleep. And I was shivering and super cold.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I don't get the appeal. I know some people, like, they want to explore these things because it's like super interesting, and we like hearing about it. Don't get me wrong, like these stories are fucking awesome, but at the same time I am not drawn to do them myself.
Yeah, I'm too scared. I am a chicken when it comes to this stuff. Like we like talking about these things, but I wouldn't want to go out and be like, I'm a ghost hunter now, because I'm too much of a little like wimp. I'd be like, no.
I asked her the other day, I'm like, what would you do if someone reached out to us to consult on something weird that was happening because they didn't like know what was going on and they know that we've like heard about this shit a lot. And she's like, I'm not doing that. And I was like, what if someone needs our help? She's like, I don't give a fuck. They can tell me when it's done and we'll talk about it on the podcast. I was like, okay, good to know. I'll be going alone if that happens because I am very curious. I'm an observer when it comes to these things. Like, I don't know. It's like that thing where you get a box that's ticking. Are you going to open it or are you going to have your friend open it and you're going to stand far away? Like, it just depends. Like, which one are you? And in this case, in like paranormal shit, I'm the friend standing in a different room behind like a bulletproof shield. Like, no, open it. I'm on Facebook Live. Nothing bad's going to happen.
Okay, so I've never touched them since. A few years later, I'm sharing this nightmare with my neighbor's mom, and she tells me, you have a power within you in such a creepy way. And this lady practices Wicca from what she tells me. Anyway, never spoke to that lady again.
That's hilarious. That's a good reaction to it. Like, thank you so much. Where's the bathroom? And then you just fucking book it out of the house.
I don't know if this is scary, but I thought so. I think it's scary.
I think it is too.
Yeah, no thanks. Hopefully you guys like it. I do like it, thank you. But this is the only thing that I've had personally happen. Thanks for sharing. Love the podcast.
Thank you for sharing. We appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. That was from Natalie.
That's pretty solid. Thank you so much for sending that in, Natalie. We appreciate that. So I guess I'll do mine now. So
that's how it works.
Yeah, I think so.
What, 70 episodes?
Yep, 70 episodes.
And
more than that, actually. This is number 41, so we're into 71
holy
now.
shit, we're
plus an episode 0, so we're at 72 official episodes.
Oh man, that's crazy.
Yeah. So, anyways, my email is titled, and it's titled "Story." So good, like just attention grabber right off the bat.
Yeah.
So it starts like this: Hi, Adam and Robin.
Hello.
Hello. My name is Charles Antoine. I'm French, so maybe my English is a little messed up. So far, so good. It's way better than my French, I'll tell you that. I discovered your podcast on Spotify.
I just want to jokingly say something, and I don't even know what to say.
You want to jokingly like say something French, and you're like, I have no like.
Yeah, I have no
French in your brain. Your brain is filled with other Asian languages, though, so I think you're allowed. I just have no French. I know like oui and un, deux, trois, and I think that's it. Merci.
Is that from like the Super Troopers movie?
No, that's from like 7th grade French class. I think that's the
You
last
took
time I had
French?
to take it. We had to take both Spanish and French in middle school.
Oh, wow.
all
You
our
had
middle
languages
school.
in middle school.
We did, yeah.
didn't
And then
have
you got to high school and
languages.
you got to choose. And you had to take at least 2 years. And I took Spanish just because I had it spoken around me all the time. And like, although my pronunciation's not very good, like I do understand Spanish okay when it's being spoken very slowly. Like when you're speaking English to someone and you start speaking like really slowly, like you're a jerk, you know?
What's that line from True Lies where he's like, do it slowly?
Yes, turn around. Do some more.
Yeah.
Do it very slowly. Yeah.
I love
That's
that
how I
movie.
need Spanish spoken to me, so I can try and understand shit. So if I ever meet you and you speak Spanish and only Spanish, like that's the best way to try and get me to understand what you're saying.
I've only taken Japanese and American Sign Language.
Right on.
So
I really need to learn another language and American Sign Language. I feel like everyone should know sign language. I really deeply feel that way.
I can only spell.
One of my favorite videos, I hate you.
Or
One of my
the
favorite
sign for
videos
stay.
online is when Disney characters start signing to guests who are hearing impaired, and the guests just like lose their shit because they're so happy because it's a magical experience for them too.
I love it. Oh my
Those are great
goodness.
videos.
It makes, one like Mickey or someone's like signing. Or was
Yeah.
it Goofy that I saw?
I've
I
seen
don't
multiple
remember.
videos of it.
Yeah, but it's just like makes your heart melt, makes you want to cry. It's like, oh my God.
So I'm going to get back to this
Okay,
email,
sorry.
and we'll talk about Disney after the show.
No, Disney all the time, all day, every day, 24/7.
I discovered your podcast on Spotify, and I'm very much enjoying it. I listen to it while I work outside, while I'm riding my bike, or when I'm doing my chores. I really love the humor. I'm
Aw,
writing this
thank you.
email to share my spooky story. I hope it gets featured on the podcast. Today is your lucky day.
Yes, we are so sorry that we have such a back catalog that it's taking a while. Don't go away.
Keep sending them, guys. We'll
Yeah.
start reading more of them. I'm already developing a plan. I'm running it past Robin on how we're going to handle it to get more each week. And if you guys keep sending them, then we get to put that plan into action, which just means longer story times for you guys, basically. So, good stuff. Going to keep going on the email now. And it says, anyway, as if he knew, or they knew. I'm just going to say they. As if they knew. Oh, it's Charles Antoine. Whatever. They knew that we were going to have a side tangent. So, anyway.
It's going to be like Charles could be a girl.
I know. Let's begin. So my story happened very recently. It started a week ago. I moved 3 weeks ago, and the house these events are happening in. I think they've moved into this house. Cool.
Okay.
I was going down the stairs to the basement. Sorry, Robin. That's
God
hilarious.
dang it.
When I saw
Why?
when I saw a Snoopy plushie, which I used to play with when I was a kid, I put it back in the closet and shrugged it off, thinking it was one of my cats who got it out. Our cat does that shit too. They just drag stuff around the house. The dogs do it too.
I found a hair tie in the middle of the floor yesterday. I was like, this bitch.
She's just proud that she killed something, so I understand that that's where your head would go. Back to the email. The next day, my mom told me she heard a door open and close in the basement at 10 a.m.
No.
I was
Oh,
sleeping
no,
at that
no.
time.
Basements
Later that
have
day,
doors?
yes, they have doors. Like, you have to get to the basement
No,
somehow,
but
right?
like there's
And
doors in the basement?
if there's rooms in the basement, yes.
There are rooms? You can put rooms down there?
Yes, you can put a wall and just put a door to enter that room. That's how people have rooms in the basement. They don't usually just get the full fucking basement. There's like a room built into the basement. You're so unfamiliar with basements. It's so frustrating.
You're so frustrating. God.
Later that day, I went into the basement and noticed the Snoopy plushie was out of the closet and that the basement was unusually cold. I freaked out. After these events, I felt like I was watched, but I didn't feel like it was a malevolent spirit. There were no events until Saturday night. I had one of the most troubling dreams I've ever had. Just for context, in my room, I have 2 windows with these white, opaque, rolling blinds. If you know what I'm talking about, I know exactly what you're talking about. The ones that you can pull down and you have to like angle and like pull it a little bit to get them to stay shut. And then if you like pull down on it really fast, they'll like wind up. They're like rolling blinds. It's like one sheet.
Okay.
You look completely baffled, like you've never seen this in your life.
No. I think I know what you're talking about. I think I had those at the restaurant I used to work at.
Okay, cool. So these windows are very close to each other. Anyway, back to the dream. There was kind of an unsettling atmosphere in the dream. I was in my room closing my blinds. I closed one of the 2 blinds, then turned around to close the other. After I closed the second blind, the first blind was raised. I closed it, but then the second blind was raised. So like you keep closing the blind and then turning and looking back at the other one, and the other one's back up again. I'd be super pissed.
So this person or this spirit is
this
a
is
big
a dream.
fan of? Oh.
Yeah, we're in dream mode now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. This went on about 10 times. Then I was able to close both of them. At this moment, my cat came into my room. His eyes were glowing white. It was pretty creepy. After an old woman came into my room and said, "Enough," in all caps with an exclamation point.
Oh my goodness.
Then I woke up sweating, and it was 3 a.m. I was sweating like crazy. I watched some videos and went back to sleep. The day after, I told my mother, but she thought nothing of it. That night, I closed my blinds. Monday morning, in parentheses, today morning, I woke up at about 6 a.m. and both my blinds were open. This really freaked me out. Anyways, that's my story. Thanks for reading. If more happens, I'll tell you about it if you guys want. We definitely always want updates.
Updates are always nice.
For everyone, this is a very specific message. For everyone who has sent us an email and said, I will keep you guys updated, and haven't sent us something since, we have assumed that you are dead. So it's a good time to reach out and let us know if you're still alive and things are okay. The email ends, if you read this or feature this on the podcast, please send me an email. Anyway, love you guys. Bye. And then a smiley face. So
nice.
I will email back to Charles Antoine so that they can let their friends know that they've been featured on an episode. And you know what? Go ahead and just tag all of them on Facebook for this episode and be like, I was on this one. I think that's the best
hilarious.
way. And then you'll get an entry into the thing too. So perfect. So I guess we can just move right ahead into main topic. So I know I mentioned that I picked a main topic I'm excited about. Robin, what did you pick this week?
I picked the Chillingham Castle.
Chillingham Castle.
Chillingham Castle.
So this is a castle in which you chill hams.
Sure. Oh, that probably doesn't sound very good though.
Why not?
I don't know. Sounds gross.
I know you have to cool meat, right? You have meat lockers and stuff like that. This is a stupid conversation. Tell us about Chillingham Castle.
Okay. So, Chillingham Castle is located in the village of Chillingham, Northumberland, England. And it's apparently one of the most haunted castles in England. I don't know if I believe that, but you know, the advertisement for it, that's what it says.
Anything that advertises for itself always says it's like the most haunted or one of the most haunted.
Well, how else are you going to get people to want to come and visit you?
Like even the fucking shit we talked about with Zach Baggins when the Dybbuk box, like he told TMZ like it's the most cursed item in the world. It's like that shit started in the early 2000s. I'm pretty sure there's cursed items that have been around since, you know, mankind started.
Yeah.
Like get the fuck out of here with your I hate it. This dramatic nonsense. Sorry.
I think he's going blind.
Go ahead. And right.
Okay. So, Chillingham Castle's actually had quite a bloody past, including torture, mass murder, and the occasional burning of people alive.
Stop. You're talking really fast. It's really hard for me to unbutton my pants when you talk about these things. Say those 3 things again.
No.
I'm joking.
Oh,
Jesus
okay.
Christ.
So, the castle was built in the 12th century.
Say it slowly. Do it, Dusimo. Do it very slowly.
Who else is a fan of True Lies? Dude, I think I've watched that movie over 100 times.
If you don't know what you're talking about or you've never seen True Lies, watch it. It's an amazing action movie back in the day when action movies were all really
Does it
fucking
have,
good.
What's her name in it?
Nailed it. You're
Eliza
so good.
Dushku?
Yeah, she's the daughter.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah. It's a really good movie. It's made by James Cameron, who made Avatar and Terminator and Aliens. Did you say Aaron? Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Aaron, I don't know.
Jamie Lee Curtis and Eliza Dushku.
Yeah.
His sidekick is Tom Arnold. There's a ton of good actors in that movie.
Yeah.
Charlton Heston's in that movie before he retired from acting. So it's a fucking great movie. If you haven't seen it, you're crazy. Go watch it.
Yeah. I think it's one of Arnold Schwarzenegger's best works.
It is. It's a great movie. It really is. And then you'll know what the fuck we're talking about when I tell her to do it Slowly.
I can't believe you remember their employee IDs.
Yep. Harry Tasker 100024, Albert Gibson 34991. I've seen that movie a million fucking times. I promise you those are the numbers.
Okay, so the castle was built in the 12th century and was originally intended to be a monastery. So it was a monastery for a while, and then they changed it up. And in 1298...
The monks are there praying, and they're like, you know what? This place could use some torture.
Or they just murdered all the monks and took it over.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
I hope not. I mean, we don't know
know
why it transitioned.
I have no idea. In 1298, King Edward I actually stayed at the castle on his way to the Battle of Falkirk. Falkirk? In Scotland. Falkirk? Falkirk.
Falkirk.
Yeah. In Scotland. And he actually won that battle. Woot woot. I don't know if that's a woot. I don't know.
I'm not going to woot that.
Yeah, I have no idea if that's a good thing.
I've watched Braveheart.
Fuck
I know
war.
it's horribly inaccurate, but I still don't know if that's around the same time, so I'm not going to woot that.
Yeah, I'm just like, war sucks. Okay. So there was even a glazed window that was specifically installed for the king. And apparently those windows were really rare back then. So fancy. The castle was also located on the border between the two feuding nations of England and Scotland, and it was used as a supply post, kind of like a prep post for English armies to prepare before entering Scotland. And
sounds hot.
So gross.
So it was like a powder room, basically.
I hate you. Needless to say, it was repeatedly attacked by the Scottish armies and the raiding parties. Since 1246, it's been owned by the same Grey family bloodline.
Wow.
And I'm not saying that the family was the color gray. They weren't aliens, but their name was Grey.
I figured that.
Okay.
That's better than Frey. You don't want to trust anyone named Frey.
Walter Grey.
Anyone out there who's named Frey, I apologize. Also, fuck you. How dare you? Just kidding. Don't get mad at me.
Yeah. One of his descendants is named Christian. He likes to torture women.
I hate you
so
much. This is totally why you did this topic.
Okay.
You're just sitting over there thinking. You're just typing all this shit up in your script, and you're just thinking about 50 Shades.
I'm always thinking of 50 Shades. Okay.
I hate you.
So, a Sir Thomas Grey was actually granted a license to fortify the castle way back in the day, 1300s. The castle has a moat, and the Greys claimed the surrounding forest for their own and upgraded the fortifications, added a few torture dungeons into the mix.
Nice, I like it.
Yeah, everybody needs a torture dungeon.
Were they red rooms since they're Greys?
I don't know.
Did they have that bar, that leg spreader?
Oh my gosh!
What? Everyone's seen the movie. They're terrible, by the way. Second one's the best one.
Okay. Glad to know that's what you think. The atrocities at Chillingham Castle seem to kind of just be legendary, like urban legend-ish, because it's just so insane. And there's no documentation, really, deep set into the records of things.
It's hard to find documentation from that long ago when there was no reason to keep records of and we tortured like Plague Paul on Monday. Write that down.
Right. So the more Scots actually made attempts to get into the castle, get past the castle to get into England, the more the dungeons actually filled up.
Yeah.
Right. And prisoners were subject to horrible tortures. Sometimes having their arms and legs broken before being tossed 20 feet down into the dungeons below.
Jesus.
But it's no moon roof, am I right?
Moon what?
Moon roof?
Moon door?
Moon door, yeah, that thing.
Wow, moon roofs are on cars. Moon doors are in Games of Thrones.
Yeah, moon door.
Aunt Liza.
Yeah, so if you guys haven't watched Game of Thrones, watch Game of Thrones, Moon Door. You'll know what I'm talking about when it happens.
Most people have watched Game of Thrones.
You don't know that, though.
I said most people. I didn't say all people.
Okay. So, prisoners were starved.
That kid sucking that tit was really disturbing. Am I wrong?
No.
Everyone else was jarred by that, too?
Yeah, I'm sorry, but...
I'm pretty sure it's exactly how it was in the
10?
book. I think he's supposed to be
11?
8.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, way too old to be nursing.
Suck a tit for nursing, and he's way too young to marry. And it's just everything with that kid is fucking creepy.
Yeah. So, prisoners were starved, and some even resorted to cannibalism. Now, I don't know how much of it I believe, but it says that the most desperate of them may have even began eating their own flesh.
I mean,
gross.
If you think that you're going to survive, like you'll
you're
do some crazy
yourself.
shit. Not necessarily. It depends on where you get the meat from. Like, imagine, like, okay, like let me tell you this. Like, there's this one guy and he went hiking. He cut off his arm and he came back alive. Like, did it sound like he was killing?
Arm?
I fucking hate you so much. Like, you just don't know anything if it's not in an anime.
Sorry.
I'm talking about the guy from 127 Hours, the guy who got his arm stuck.
127 Hours.
It's a fucking movie that won Oscars about a guy who existed, who got his arm stuck under a rock while he was hiking, and he had to fucking break his arm. Like, he had to get a clean break on his bone and then cut the flesh so that he could remove his arm so he would survive. And he did. And they made a movie about it, and James Franco is that guy in the movie. That's what he was nominated. That's one of the ones he was nominated for.
Wow.
So I'm just saying, like, you do shit to survive. Like, either you're going to die or you're going to do something horrible and you're going to live. So I don't know. If I'm stuck in a fucking dungeon and I'm being starved, I might just be like, all right, where does the flesh look the least useful? And be like, all right, feet. Probably not my feet. That would really hurt constantly. I don't know. I don't know where I'd start. Someone Google it and figure out where you're supposed to start eating yourself from.
You know how Kakashi gets one of his... Oh, God.
What did I just say? If it's not an anime, she doesn't fucking know.
You know how Kakashi gets that one eye of his?
I don't know.
I
know he has one. I don't know how he got it. He got it from his friend, right?
His friend got crushed by a rock. And so they had to,
He had to cut out his own eye to survive?
Yeah.
Really?
He didn't cut out his own eye, but, like, I think... if I remember correctly, Kakashi's eyes got injured, and so he was gonna die. His friend was gonna die, so he's just like, "Take my eye" or whatever, and so that's why he has the.
She's talking about Naruto for those of you who don't know, because she just went straight into anime mode. Let's get back to whatever this place is called.
I mean, you do what you can to survive, right?
Chillingham Castle.
Okay, so the walls of the dungeon actually have evidence of those prisoners that were there, and they were marking them in attempts to count the days. So there's like scratches to try and see how long they were in there.
Right.
You can even see some etched like short diary entries into the walls that
I imagine they'd have to be very short if you're like etching it into a wall.
You can still see them today.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's kind of
Is it
crazy.
Interesting shit? Are they like talking shit about someone, or is it just like
today,
depressing stuff?
I ate this part of my arm.
The balls are the best. Start with the balls.
Kind of chewy, but delicious.
Very gross.
Ew. Now, here's some more Game of Thrones dungeon type shit. The torture chamber had a sloping floor to drain the blood away.
Well, that's just smart. I mean, that's just like hygienic. You don't want pooled blood. You want it to drain. It's like a bathtub. Like you want it to be like all going towards the drain.
Gross. But it's
gross.
Just, I just, how much
Do you
blood
want to go into a torture? If you walked into a torture room right now after having read that, if the room didn't have blood on the ground and you noticed a drain, you'd be so thankful that the room wasn't flat, so you wouldn't have to be standing in someone else's blood.
Okay.
Like, maybe it's not going to be that bad. I mean, it's not the most hygienic thing in the world, but everything helps.
If I were a torturer who enjoyed it, I'd love to be standing in people's blood.
I would walk into the room if I was about to be tortured and see the slanted floor, like, get down, like, eyeball, and be like, nice, let's do this.
Dumb. There was a man by the name of John Sage who is said to have killed thousands of Scots.
Oh, my God.
And there was a point where he was one of King Edward's greatest fighters, and he got injured. And once he was no longer able to battle, he was sent to be the castle's torturer. And who better to have as your torturer than someone who absolutely despised Scots? He hated them.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, so he used a number of horrific torture devices that were at his disposal. And it's said that Sage killed 50 people a week for 3 years.
Was that like a quota he had to meet? Or is that just like he was very efficient at doing horrible things?
He was just like, I have this personal goal. I got to hit it every week. Like,
did he have a vision board? Did he have like 50 people's names up there? Or did he just have the number 50?
I don't know, but that's a lot of people. 50? How many weeks in a year?
52.
Okay, see, I didn't know that. I had to ask you.
How do you? Oh my God.
So 50 times 52 times 3 years.
Over 2,500 people a year.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. What a dickhead, right?
Yeah. This guy's horrific.
So towards the end of the war, in order to empty the dungeons of prisoners, Sage decided they should do something unimaginable.
Just let him go? And let them live peaceful lives?
That would have been nice, but he's a dick. So, Sage had all the children taken to the Edward Room, also known as the Killing Room.
Oh my God.
Wherever that is in the castle. And there, they watched their parents get led out into the courtyard. The group of parents were all burned alive in front of their children.
This is getting weird. I'm going to stop
And-
masturbating now. Thanks a
Ew.
bunch.
Stop. And then Sage murdered all the children with an axe.
What the fuck, dude?
Which is apparently still on display in one of the stairwells.
So did he bring them into rooms and execute them? Or did he just
No.
go in there like a fucking madman with an axe?
I think they all took him, or they took all the children into that room, burned all the parents in front of the kids, and then were like, he's probably like some lumberjack cutting down children.
Like he went in there like Anakin Skywalker from
Yeah,
fucking
killing all the
Revenge of the
younglings.
Sith. Wow, that's fucking messed up.
Except, you know, he didn't have a cool lightsaber, so it was probably a lot harder.
I hate you so much. Are you like admiring how much effort it took to murder all these children?
No, I'm just saying.
Kids are really quick. It's really hard to get your hands on one. Like an axe is heavy.
They are. Anyway, I cannot believe that I had never heard of this before. Like, it's just so ridiculously horrible, you know? I mean, if it's real. I hope it's not, but...
I'm pretty sure it's real. It sounds so horrific. I can't imagine. Okay, let me rephrase this. It sounds so horrific, and I hope so much that it's fake. That means it's probably going to be one of those horrible things human beings actually did.
Yeah.
Wasn't Edward Longshanks? Is that him?
Who's Edward Longshanks?
It wasn't Edward, King Edward Longshanks, the king known as Longshanks, who's the bad guy from Braveheart.
I've never watched Braveheart.
I don't know why I'm talking to you about these things. Keep going.
So...
He's like Kakashi in season 7 of blah 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 derp. Keep going.
Unlucky for him, he was strung up and killed by a local tribal leader whose daughter Sage had actually killed. Local villagers cut off his nose, testicles, and toes as souvenirs. And when I read this, I was like, why not the fingers and ears? Like, that's where I would go.
Take it all.
You know, like Walking Dead type shit where I just collect a bunch of ears. That's from Walking Dead, right?
I don't know.
Where
I don't remember that in Walking Dead.
I think it's in the comic book. Like Daryl has like a necklace of just ears, or someone has a necklace of ears.
I remember a necklace of ears from Universal Soldier, and that's the beginning of the movie. Is that guy's torturing Vietnamese people, and Jean-Claude Van Damme is like, "No, bro, we don't do that." And I'm pretty sure he roundhouse kicks Dolph Lundgren forward like 20 years, and then they battle there. I don't remember the plot of Universal Soldier. I did like it though.
Okay,
there was a necklace of ears for sure.
It was the chick with the katana. I think she's the one with the necklace of ears.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like that's the first thing you'd want to cut off, other than a penis. You know, fuck dicks.
I don't want to cut that off. I don't want to cut things off, really.
Okay, but I'm just saying, like, of all the things to cut off as souvenirs, there's a lot more than just his nose. Why his nose?
I'm just happy he died in a terribly horrific way because he kind of fucking earned it. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's not enough horror you can inflict on a person that's done that much, but as, you know, slow and agonizing as deaths go, I guess this one kind of fits.
Yeah. Well, he was left there to die as people watched, with the occasional cut for themselves. So people would randomly come and cut pieces off.
I like this. Yeah. Fuck this guy.
So in 1617, James I, the first king of both England and Scotland, stayed at the castle on his journey between the countries. And as peace settled between the two, there was less of a need for military standing. So the moat was eventually filled in, battlements were made into residences, and
cool.
A banquet hall and library were built. Talk about upgrade, am I right?
That's good because it's just at some point it's like, hey, all these horrible things, let's turn them into things for living now.
Yeah, so they, instead of war, it was all like, upgrades, upgrades, upgrades. I'd like this marble countertop, please.
It only took, 400 years for that to happen? Not to mention all the stuff that happened before this between Scotland and England.
Imagine being born during this time where it's like so much war and you're born into it and you wake up coming out of your mom like, oh, hey, BT dubs, we're still in this war and we don't even know how it started. It's been 300 years. It's still not over.
Yeah, being born and being raised and being told like, hey, we don't know why this happened or when this happened or what started this. Just know it'll be going on your entire life and your entire life will be terrible because of it.
So crazy.
Get out there and, I don't know, whatever kids did back in the 1200s. Throw some shit at each other.
Did they have toys back then?
I don't know. They probably had stuff that was like carved. They definitely didn't have like, I don't know, Rocket League, whatever the kids play nowadays.
PUBG, Fortnite. Okay. So
that's where you
they
got
had real life PUBG.
They had real life Fortnite, except it was like, one big team versus another big team, which is just boring. Battlegrounds is way better, right? Free for all, am I right?
Yeah. So the 18th and 19th centuries brought new ownership and more updates. World War II led to the castle being used as army barracks. It's said that much of the decorative wood that once adorned the castle was stripped and burned by the soldiers. Dicks.
Probably to stay warm.
Yeah, but it's still like...
I don't know, dude. If it's coming down to it and you're like, we're going to fucking die from the cold, then it's like, go ahead and strip and burn the wood. You know what I mean?
It's like the Red Skull in Captain America where he just bursts into that monastery like, fuck history, I'm going to destroy this shit.
A little bit different than the like ultimate Nazi destroying history to claim the cosmic cube and soldiers in a horrific war freezing to death being like, we have to peel shit off the walls to set on fire to keep from freezing to death. I'm just saying those two things are not equal.
Okay.
You're so full of shit.
I just think our conversations are weird. Okay, the castle fell.
Oh, really? You just noticed that? 72 episodes in. The
castle fell into disrepair and got weather damage, obviously. Well, okay, not obviously. We don't know what it looks like. In 1982, the castle was bought by a Sir Humphrey Wakefield, whose wife was descended from the Greys of Chillingham. They went through the process of restoring the castle. And throughout its restoration, countless bodies have been discovered in hidden rooms and crawl spaces.
That's super fucking creepy.
Yeah, but if you think about it, the castle's been around for so long. It's gone through a lot of owners, a lot of war, a lot of battle. Like, shit's gonna happen, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, fuck, if war was going on and I had to hide somewhere, I'd go into a crawl space and die.
Would you? Okay, there's a difference between hiding somewhere and dying there.
Well, it's like, how are you going to escape if like everybody around you is trying to kill you and then you try to hide somewhere and you starve to death and die?
Well, I mean, you just wait, and if you get to the point that you're going to starve to death, then we talked about it. Someone Google it. Which part of me am I supposed to eat first? God damn it. I need to know these things.
Okay, so how those bodies got there, it's hard to know for sure. Some were found behind brick walls even. And those may be a little easier to figure out. Maybe like someone obviously bricked them up in there.
Obviously, yeah.
One of the more famous ghosts in the castle is that of the quote-unquote blue or radiant boy, who, according to the owners, used to haunt the pink room in the castle.
It's the blue boy haunted the pink room in the castle.
Not to be confused with the red room.
Wow.
Supposedly...
What's in the pink room, I wonder?
Just vaginas.
Wow.
Supposedly, guests have reported seeing blue flashes and a blue quote-unquote halo of light above their beds after hearing a loud crying or wail. It's said that the haunting stopped after the particular discovery of two skeletons, a man and a child, hiding in a small underground vault.
Wow. That's fucking crazy, dude. So they found them and they were put to rest by being found. They're probably like exhumed or whatever you call it when you collect a corpse. I'm pretty sure it's exhumed and then buried. And then after that, maybe they're at rest.
Yeah. Their identities and reason for being in the stone vault is unknown. The boy was found in blue rags with the bones of his fingers worn away, evidence that he tried to claw his way out.
That is horrible.
Yeah, that's super... Oh, man, that's awful. There's another spirit, that of Lady Berkeley, the wife of Lord Grey. Grey actually ran off with Berkeley's sister, Henrietta. Slut!
Wow. Slut shaming from 500 years ago.
Berkeley was left abandoned at the castle with only her baby daughter. You can sometimes hear her dress rustle, which honestly I think could be like a curtain or anything blowing. You know what I mean? Like the sound of a dress rustling. It could be any sort of fabric blowing.
Yeah, it could be a lot of different things.
It's a castle. Shit's windows, air is obviously going to go through and make stuff move. Sure. So, I don't know.
Castles are drafty. We know this.
Yeah.
Everyone has their own castle, and it all has draft problems. So
Okay. It's also said that you can see her sweeping through the corridors, searching for her husband, leaving a chill behind in her wake.
That's super chill.
Super chill. The Edward Room seems to be where guests feel an overwhelming sadness and the strong smell of blood.
Oh, you mean the murder children room?
Yeah.
I can't imagine that.
Yeah, as this is where like a whole bunch of children got massacred. I'm totally not surprised.
Before they even got there, it was called the fucking kill room.
Well, I think it's called the kill room after. It was called the Edward Room before.
And then they turned it into the kill room.
And then they named it to the kill room. Yeah.
Well, you don't change something to like the happy-go-lucky room when there's like 50 dead kids in there.
There have also been reports of people having their hair pulled, arms scratched, or even being bitten by an unseen entity.
Yeah, angry, dead kids.
Yeah. Now, it's not known for sure if it really is the most haunted castle in Britain, but that's how it's marketed as. And the current owners have opened parts of it to the public and has rooms you're able to rent.
Yes, let's go fucking do this.
No,
yes.
I'm good.
No, I want to go.
The castle has been investigated by a number of television and radio programs, including Ghost Hunters International. There have been loads of strange photos and audio recordings that have been caught. With so much war and violence surrounding a single structure and area. Like, it's literally on the border of these two countries.
That we're fighting for a very long time.
There's no wonder why weird things happen here. And castles are just creepy. Yeah. If you guys own a castle, invite us. We'll stay there.
Yeah, except for this castle, which she just said she doesn't want to stay at. We have miles, bro. All I'm going to say is war. What is it good for?
Absolutely nothing.
I knew you were going to do it. Yay. That's why I put it out there.
Okay, so
that's really good.
Yeah, that's Chillingham Castle.
I really want to visit it, actually. So if we go international, we have to have a live show.
I want to see castles, period. I've never seen one.
We have to have a live show in Isle of Man, and then we have to do a live show from this castle. That's like two things I'm going to put on the official list.
I don't think you can.
Why not? I'll just bring some shit. We'll set it up. It'll be good to go.
Maybe.
I'll email them. I'll have their people talk to my people, and then my people are me because I don't have people. So cool.
I'm people.
I'm going to move on to mine now. And this week I wanted to cover a haunted house, which is funny because you didn't say you were going to do a haunted castle. And then all of a sudden you decided that you're going to do one. So this seems like it's just the haunted place episode, but whatever. So I looked over a few that I had heard about, and I realized that I had been told about one out in San Diego, and I had completely forgotten to write it down or look into it. So after some quick Googling, I realized that my buddy Ralph, when I was out at E3 during Xbox Fan Fest, had talked about a bunch of different stuff from San Diego.
Yeah.
And this house was one that he had mentioned. And after some digging, I was able to locate what is known as the Whaley House, which is my topic for this week.
It was so funny because when you mentioned that to me, I was just like, I've heard of that before. Because I've watched so many videos and stuff.
I've never heard of it, and so I can at least save some stuff that might be a surprise, even though you've heard about this before. I'm going to move my laptop.
Okay, I'm not going to read it.
So that you won't cheat and read what I'm about to say to you, since you've been doing that lately, since we got our new studio set up. So what is the Whaley House? Well, it's a house, and it's owned by a family named Whaley.
Last name Whaley, first name Whaley.
Last name Whaley. So usually families don't all have the same first name.
What if they did, though?
They don't. But the house is haunted, obviously. So before we get to all that, some quick background on the house, because the house itself has a lot of history, actually. And to start with, its construction was officially finished in August of 1857. So this is an old fucking house. This house is 160 years old. 161, whatever. And they say
give or take a year.
Give or take a year. They say that the plot of land it was built on was originally a cemetery. And while I couldn't find anything to substantiate that the plot itself was at one point used as a cemetery, it wouldn't shock me if it was true. And I say that because there's a lot of legends, there's a lot of lore in San Diego, especially about cemeteries being built over, especially during that period.
Okay.
And I do know that there is a place in San Diego that not only built over a cemetery, but put a little coin for each grave marker because they didn't move anything.
What?
They're just like, fuck it, we're going to build over the top of it.
Are you serious?
Yeah, dude. And I'll get to that at a different point because that's a topic for a different episode. But what I did find is really fun because I basically wrote out my script. I did my research. I got the story. I was like, cool, let me do some more research. And I found something that I was very proud of myself for that needs to go at the beginning.
Okay.
So that's where we're at right now. So here it comes.
Hello, beginning.
So what I did find was that the land was used as a temporary gallows for the town. Now, what is a gallows, you ask?
Where you hang people?
Where you hang people, exactly. And back in 1852, there is supposedly a guy named James Yankee Jim, is his nickname, Robinson. Even though James Robinson's an awesome name, he gets a nickname of Yankee Jim. And
Sounds
he was
racist.
supposedly tried and convicted of attempted larceny. What's larceny, you may ask? Larceny is very simply the theft of personal property that belongs to someone else. So he was convicted of trying to steal someone's shit. To which the obvious sentence for stealing someone else's stuff or attempted stealing someone else's stuff would be to be hanged by the neck until you're dead.
Okay.
Which I obviously think, I'm being sarcastic here, which I don't think you picked up on. That seems way too fucking high. Stealing someone's stuff shouldn't be a fucking death penalty.
Well, so don't you just chop off their hands when you try and steal stuff?
I don't know. But it wasn't one of those super pleasant hangings that we all hear about or daydream to while we're masturbating.
What the
Yankee
fuck?
Jim, there's a lot of jerk-off jokes in this show. I didn't mean to do the ones earlier. I forgot I wrote them into the script.
Oh my god, I can't. Just skip them then.
It wasn't a normal one, is what I'm trying to say. He was supposedly hanged in the back of a fucking wagon, and I found a website that offered a description of the event, and it said that the witnesses described the event with Yankee Jim basically struggling to prolong his life by trying to keep his feet on the wagon for as long as possible. And when the wagon finally moved too far from his feet, he, quote, swung like a pendulum back and forth until he strangled to death. So after reading that, I was like, fuck, that is intense. That is such a torturous way to die. But it's probably all bullshit anyways.
Really?
And this is where I get to the point where I did my research. So as I was digging shit up, because that was one of the points that I really wanted to check on, was like, how about that hanging from the beginning of my story? Can I substantiate that if I dig a little deeper? And after digging, I dug up a newspaper article from the Los Angeles Herald, Volume 1, Number 5, dated the 7th of October, 1873.
They had that back then?
It's still around. It's 20 years after the event, and it describes the situation, and the article is entitled, quote, Hanging Yankee Jim. So he was a person, and he was hung. We know that already. So in this article, it describes a man named James Robinson, who was a Canadian Frenchman.
Why was he called Yankee Jim?
I don't fucking know. He was 6'4", imposing dude, and upon arriving in San Diego, a bunch of fucking people gave him this reputation of stealing and murdering minors. Like when they'd be working, he'd walk up and either steal your shit or murder you.
I was like, minors like children?
No, like minors, like in California in the 1800s. And it's just bizarre to me because it's like they don't have any record of this guy being a terrible person before he moved there or doing anything wrong. But it's just like they're all scared of him. So they're like, that dude will fucking kill you. So what was his crime in real life? Well, he and two other men, and these two other men are named James Grayson Loring and William Harris, stole a boat. And they stole a boat, they sailed it somewhere, and then they ditched it. The owner wound up finding it like a few miles up the coast. And side note, it was in perfect working order. It wasn't damaged at all.
They
so
just decided to get...
They joyrided, or they really needed to get somewhere, and they just stole someone's fucking boat. And I say that they did this because of what happened with the trial. So the article details the full trial, and it does quote the judge, too, during the sentencing. So a few details on the actual facts of this case that actually took place. This is just fucking mind-blowing. The boat was recovered with no damage. I mentioned that. He wasn't found guilty of attempted larceny. He was found guilty of grand larceny. Those are two very different things. He didn't try to steal something. They said, you did steal it, and we're going to try you for that, even though it was almost immediately recovered.
Okay.
So on the jury for his trial were two men, one of which named John C. Stewart, the other one named Enos Wall. Why does that matter? Why am I bringing up? Because those two men were the fucking plaintiffs. They owned the boat that was stolen, and they sat on the jury that would decide whether or not that he would be sentenced to be guilty for stealing the boat.
That's the stupidest shit I've ever heard.
It's the absolute stupidest shit I've ever heard. So James Robinson, Yankee Jim, didn't object to them being on the jury because he figured that they would go easy on him since the boat was recovered with no damage and it was just a few miles away. So it's almost like an admission of guilt letting these guys be on the jury. So the jury did return a verdict, and the verdict was guilty with a sentence of death penalty by hanging.
That's fucking
He
dumb.
was sentenced to die on September 18th. And if you're listening to this podcast
It's
on the day
September
it comes
18th?
out, it's September
Oh my
18th.
God.
And I didn't know that was going to happen, so it blew my fucking mind. So 171? I don't know. This was 1953 or 1853. Holy shit. So it's been a long time, but this is on the anniversary Yankee Jim was hung to death. So the judge stated during sentencing, quote, between the hours of 10 o'clock a.m. and 3 o'clock p.m., you will be taken from thence referencing his cell, by the sheriff of said county, the county of San Diego, to the place of execution, and there hung by the neck until you are dead. So he was told, basically, we're going to fucking hang you on September 18th, sometime between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. So these people are the fucking cable installation guys of executions. And I just remember reading that being like, what fucking assholes. It just blew my mind. And he was hung in San Diego. The gallows he was hung from was, quote, according to this article, 2 beams planted in the ground with a heavy bar across the top.
Okay.
So it's just fucking 3 beams, 2 in the ground, 1 running across. That's your fancy fucking gallows to kill someone with. So they would back a wagon up underneath it so that he was tall enough to reach the noose. And then they would slowly pull the wagon away from him so he would just hang to death. So it wasn't one of those clean ones where your neck breaks.
Yeah.
You were going to strangle to death, basically. So after they fitted the noose around his neck, he was allowed to have his final words, which I do think is cool. And he basically used this time to self-eulogize. So he told everyone about his life.
Sing the song for pirates?
No, not at all. So he wasn't a pirate. I mean, he did steal a boat, but that's...
I was going to say, pretty sure that makes him a pirate.
I hate you so much. No, I think it's if you steal stuff. I don't know. Probably. Fuck you. So he told everyone that he was a good man, though. And like everything he had done in his life was good. He had always lived like a godly life, that he had given, quote, piles of gold to help poor men. That doesn't help his case of not being a pirate, I guess.
I was going to say.
So the
He's Jack
undersheriff,
Sparrow.
the quote undersheriff, which is like just a shitty way of telling someone like this person works for me. They have my title, but the word under is in front of it. He was the one who oversaw the execution, and
So
he
the
waited.
undersheriff oversaw?
Yes. Awesome. Good play on words, Robin. He waited until he was done with his story to hang him. And it doesn't say whether or not he was taken from his cell right at 10 a.m., but what is said is that he spoke until 3:15 p.m.
What?
So Yankee Jim was like, between 10 and 3, huh? Yeah, we'll see about that shit. So he basically earned himself an extra 15 minutes of life, which I fucking respect. Like, he was just like, I'm going to tell you my story, and you're going to fucking listen. So after he was done talking at 3:15, the undersheriff ordered the wagon to be pulled forward, and the article states, quote, Yankee Jim kept his feet in the wagon as long as possible, but was finally pulled off. He swung back and forth like a pendulum until he strangled to death. So that is where the quote comes from.
Okay.
They didn't reference it in this. It was like only one website I could find that had that quote in it. That's why I wanted to see if I wanted to use it in my script or not. And thus ended the career of the dreaded desperado Yankee Jim. And I wrote, holy fucking shit. Like, oh, and these other 2 guys, like, who did the exact same thing, they also had trials. Oh, by the way, by the exact same jury. They didn't pick a new jury for the other trials.
What?
They just reused the same jury. It's like, you guys are familiar with that case, right? Cool. Like, we're not going to give these guys a fair shot. Anything that lawyer earlier fucked up carries over onto these guys. Blows my fucking mind how justice was handled back then.
Right.
And they were found guilty of grand larceny as well for the exact same crime by the exact same jury. And their sentence, a year in state prison.
What?
They both went to jail for a year in state prison and then were released.
They must have really hated that Canadian.
They left California. They never came back. But they fucking hung Yankee Jim. So this is all real shit. So what I wrote in response to this whole thing is, get the fucking out of here. I was so angry reading that. I'm like, I am so happy about some of the stuff I'm about to read to you guys now, because fuck these guys. Because, oh, and my favorite part of the article, I almost left it out. This is where they describe the gallows. It's helpful that this article is 20 years later because it gives us some context. It states in this article, quote, it was located in Old Town on the spot where Whaley's brick house now stands.
Oh my goodness.
So it is completely confirmed that the Whaley house was built on the exact spot the gallows were and where this guy in particular was hung.
Who decided, like, hey, let's build a house right on that
Well, let me get to that.
Oh, okay, cool.
So also, of the crowd that had gathered there to watch Yankee Jim be hung, there was one curious onlooker by the name of Thomas Whaley.
Okay.
And after Yankee Jim was finally dead, he decided to pull up his pants and stop jerking off and said, that was great. I'm going to build a fucking house here. And he did. So that's the beginning of Whaley House. So we're just off to a great fucking start,
so much
right?
masturbating this episode.
I know, it's a lot. There's a bunch of jerk-off
my
jokes.
goodness.
I apologize. I had it twice in my script, and they just kept coming out during her stuff, so blame her. When I first started doing this script, I wrote the line, so who would build a house in a cemetery? Probably no one. That could be bullshit. Most of the ghost story stuff could be bullshit, but some stuff is definitely true and certainly tragic. And that's the next stuff that we're going to get to. So I could give you the history of Thomas Whaley. He's originally from like New York. He came out west, but it's mostly irrelevant. All you really need to know is he came out for the gold rush, basically. During the gold rush time, once the house was finished being built, Thomas Whaley immediately converted part of the home into a general store. So he's like, we got this nice
Gotta
house.
make money.
We're going to put our store in it. And creepy, right? No?
I don't know. It's in the center of town.
Okay, moving on.
know?
I literally wrote Robin won't think it was creepy. Quick side note, the business did not do well. They were too far out of the way. They weren't downtown.
Oh, okay. Never mind. It wasn't in the center of
No.
town.
And he moved the general store to the downtown area not long after they opened. He was just like, no one's fucking coming. We need to be downtown. He opened a store downtown and just turned that room, whatever was the general store, into like living quarters again. Thomas had a wife named Anna, and they had 3 children, Francis, Thomas, and Anna. So it's like Anna Jr.
Are you serious?
Yes. I mean, her middle name is different. So, sad side note, Thomas died at 18 months old.
That's so sad.
Thomas is the namesake of his father, and he would be the first Whaley to pass away in Whaley House. So, a quick recap of this timeline for you. The house was finished in August of 1857, built on the spot where a guy was hung, and other people were also hung. Thomas Whaley opens his shop in it, and it fails, so he moves it downtown. So already they're not off to a good start. In 1858, very shortly after they moved in, his son and namesake dies. So now in August of 1858, 1 year after they had moved in and tried to kickstart their lives in this new house, the building he moved his general shop into downtown burns to the ground.
Of course it does.
So natural causes, you ask? No. Paranormal? Not that either. It was straight up fucking arson. Some dude burned his shop to the ground.
That's rude.
Yep. So, yeah, super rude. That's the first thing that would come to mind if someone told me, like, everything you own and your shop has been burned to the ground except for your haunted house.
And then you're just like, that's rude.
That's rude. So the family did what most people would do when they've hit a streak of tragedies, like back to back to back. They said, fuck this. And they noped the fuck out. They moved from San Diego to San Francisco. And as a side note, when some couples experience the death of a child, it's very hard for them to move on. I see this in a bunch of different like media, and I've heard people talk about this before on podcasts. Thomas and Anna experienced the death of their 18-month-old son, and then relocated and just said like, hey, let's keep banging away. And they had 3 more children, and those children would be known as, I really like this name actually, Violet Eloise. It's a really good name.
Yeah.
Corinne, I hope that picked up on audio. Robin just shit her pants. Corinne Lillian and George Hayes Ringgold. Like, that's the name before Whaley. George Hayes Ringgold. And I'm just like, what the fuck? He was named after a business partner. It's like, that's a lot to name after a business partner.
So, I mean, maybe they're important to them. Who knows?
I don't know. Maybe they're the actual dad. Probably not.
Oh, what the fuck?
I won't speculate on that. So things would go fairly well over the next 10 years up in San Francisco. Thomas actually helped out on a bunch of shit. He opened a bunch of shops. He even helped out when the U.S. was taking over the region known as Alaska. So that's pretty cool. In 1868, so 10 years later, there was a major earthquake. And if you read stuff online, dates are never going to match up because people just basically, the first date they find, they toss it on their website. So their dates are a little muddled. But there was a major earthquake on October 21st, 1868 in San Francisco. It is documented, and I found it. So let's just say that must be the earthquake that they decided, hey, fuck this, we're leaving San Francisco now.
Okay.
So after the earthquake, they moved back to San Diego, and they moved right back into Whaley House, which at that point hadn't had much going on in it. So they move in.
But so that means no one was doing anything with the house while they left?
No, they've left. Okay, they leave it abandoned a couple of times.
Oh, okay.
So they come back this time. And I imagine this family of 7, you know, there's 2 parents, there's 5 kids at this point, and they're cruising up in their fucking car, and it's probably like that car from that 70s show, like a station wagon, and they're probably blaring "The Boys Are Back in Town."
I was thinking more Beverly Hillbillies with all of them packed on the back.
No, I'm thinking because they have money, you know.
Oh, okay.
Well, I guess they did too. But even though the family is majority of women, they're playing "The Boys Are Back in Town." They're all wearing like fucking shades. Their arms are outside of the windows, like of the car, tapping the roof.
Oh my god!
And they get out, and Thomas peels off his sunglasses and is like, "You know what would go well with this house? A general store."
Again?
And the cue Anna Wheatley like peeling down her glasses like to her nose and like blowing a bubble of her bubble gum or taking like a small lollipop out of her mouth. I haven't exactly picked what I want in this scene. And she just rolls her eyes. But that's what I picture with them like moving back into town. As a side note, sunglasses, cars, and lollipops all were not invented yet. Bubblegum was. You're welcome.
I'm just thinking of the movie A Thousand Ways to Die in the West or something, A Million Ways to Die in the West, where he's trying to talk to Kaylee Cuoco or whatever, and he's like, this new invention, bubblegum, It's pretty.
I don't remember that movie at all.
Really?
Yeah, but it's good to know that it was historically accurate. Like, I'm sure 100%. It was probably a documentary filmed in real time. So, anyways, he started up a general store again out of the house. And up until January 1869, a local theater troupe operated out of their front upstairs bedroom. So they just started, like, using rooms in this house for fucking whatever.
Okay.
That's not the only weird shit the house would be used for either. The San Diego County Courthouse rented out 3 upstairs bedrooms for record storage. They're like, you have bedrooms in your upstairs? We're going to use them as closets. But don't worry, we're going to pay you rent for those closets. There was a granary on the land that they decided...
land did they have?
It's a big plot, but they decided that this granary was going to be used by the San Diego County Courthouse as well. And they used it as a courtroom. And there's records of trials taking place there and even hangings being carried out on the land again.
Oh, my goodness.
So eventually the granary just would get connected to the residence itself in 1871. So 3 years after them just using this shit, they're like, just connect it. We'll have our courthouse and our house all connected to one. So now we have this big-ass house with a courthouse in it, and life goes on. And then we get 11 years in the future. So these kids all grow up in this environment. Things are pretty regular, except for some stuff I'll get to later, because I'm going to Pulp Fiction you guys a little bit.
Okay.
But we get to a date, January 5th, 1882. And this date would change the family forever. So why is this day important? Because 2 of the Whaley daughters, Violet and Anna Jr., would get married this day. So side note, maybe it was simpler back in that day, and they were just like 2 weddings, 1 reception. Fuck it, that sounds easier. Or maybe it was like straight up bride war shit, and they're like, I'm not changing my fucking date. Fuck her. Because you just never know. They're sisters. They could have been really friendly or really hated each other.
Okay.
What we know is they were both married on the same day, and they're not sure because I can't find the records on it, which is shocking because they lived in a fucking courthouse. But most people believe that they were both married in the house. So who did these bodacious brides bag, you ask? Well, let's look at these eligible bachelors. So Anna Amelia, which was her middle name, it wasn't Junior, would wed a gentleman named John T. Whaley. Why does that name sound familiar? It's because it's her last name too.
Oh,
yes, folks.
What?
Anna would marry her first cousin.
Oh, wow.
So she would wed a man. I'm sorry. Let me just back up just a quick second. So you hear that and instantly you think like Violet Eloise totally is going to win this marriage battle, right? Well, we're going to see. So she wedded a man named George T. Bertolacci. They were not related. So instantly you're like, winner, winner, chicken dinner, right?
Right.
Wrong. Why is it wrong?
He murdered her.
Why is it wrong? Anna was fucking her cousin, right? She obviously lost. Well, unfortunately for Violet, they were traveling back to the East Coast on their honeymoon. Their honeymoon was like 2 weeks in because they're rich and they can take long-ass honeymoons. Plus, if you want to go anywhere, it takes forever to cross the country. So she woke up and George was fucking gone. And only after the fact did they do some digging to find out that George was a con man.
Of course.
And he married her for this giant dowry, and he fucking bounced once he got it. So how is that Violet's fault? Well, it wasn't, obviously. But because society was so fucked up then, by the way, it's still fucked up now, when she got home from traveling back across the country with no husband in tow, they shamed her. They treated her like it was her fucking fault. They don't say the family did this. They just said that it was a giant scandal and like everyone else treated the family like they were fucked up because of it. It took her a year for her divorce to be finalized. So during this time, she sank into a deep, deep depression, which was only made worse by the horrible fucking human beings of the time treating her like shit and treating her like she didn't deserve any future happiness because no one would like their like kid to be wed to her now.
You're right.
Because it's like she did something wrong by being like victimized, which is just so fucked up.
Well, it's like she's not a virgin anymore either, so they're probably like, broken goods, sorry.
It's just still fucked up, man. And like she didn't deserve any of this shit. And then August 18th, 1885, so this is 3.5 years after her wedding
Please tell
day.
me she doesn't commit suicide.
She took her father's .32 caliber gun and shot herself in the heart. She was 22 years old at the time of her death.
See, I mean, people should not fucking bully people like that, dude. It's just not right.
She
it's
left
so
a note,
dumb.
and her note, what her note should have read is "fuck all of you" in all caps. But instead, it read, "Mad from life's history, swift to death's mystery, glad to be hurled anywhere, anywhere out of this world."
Wow.
So,
she's a fucking lyrical wordsmith.
Side note, she was actually quoting a poem called Bridge of Sighs by Thomas Hood. Bridge of Sighs has been referenced by Edgar Allan Poe.
Wow.
He talked about how good of a poem it was, too. So that made an impression on her so much so that she used it as her suicide note. And I would also like to note that she shot herself in her heart in the Whaley house. So how would society react to Violet's suicide? Obviously by treating her family like shit, right?
Right.
So how do you ask, did they do that this time? Well, another daughter at the time was engaged. This time it was Corinne Lillian, and she was engaged when her sister killed herself. So her fiance did what anyone would do when their betrothed suffers such a terrible loss. He fucking broke off their engagement.
Oh, man.
Like, it was a bunch of fucking rich people that are outraged at anything that, like, is eventful that doesn't look good. So they consider everything a scandal, and they're not sympathetic to each other at all. And he fucking bounced. And it's just disgusting that people actually behaved and maybe still do behave this way.
Yeah, I guarantee there are people out there that treat people just like this.
Yeah,
where
and
they're
it's
just
so
like,
shitty, dude. Like, change yourself. Like, change your life if that's the kind of person you are. Like, so after this, Thomas built a new single-story house in downtown San Diego because they were convinced, like, there's something wrong with this house. And he moved his family there. They all fucking moved out. It was only several miles down the road, and they left the Whaley house empty. No one was there. They moved the courthouse out of it. Nothing was in it for 25 years.
Oh, God. Then what happened in
They're
25
like, let's
years?
get the fuck out. So in that time, Thomas would pass away in their new home downtown. He actually only lived for 5 years in the new home. So he died in 1890. His daughter, Anna, not his wife, would pass away in Modesto, California, almost 15 years later to the day. It's like,
wow.
I'm pretty sure Thomas died on like August 14th, and then Anna died on August 12th.
Okay.
So 15 years later, she passed away. She must have died from all that incest dick. It's really hard because there's no like cause of death. But she lived fairly happily after she got married. So I think it's fucking crazy, as a side note, that people were more fucking offended that someone's husband left them than some chick marrying her first fucking cousin. Like, that shit blows my goddamn mind. So in 1909, so 24 years later, Francis Whaley, the oldest son, pretty sure, decided to restore Whaley House. So he wound up turning it.
He knows what happened there, though, right?
He knows all the history of it, though. There's a bunch of shit that's happened there. So he turned it into a tourist attraction.
Okay.
Because the house does have a ton of history.
I can understand that.
They say he even played guitar for the guests. And I can just imagine the tour, like, so here's the old courthouse, and then there's the tree we hung criminals from. This is where I took my first steps, and that's where my sister shot herself. And then there's like a really awkward silence, and everyone's uncomfortable, and he just straps on his guitar, and he's like, anyways,
oh my God,
here's Wonderwall.
I knew it. Okay.
So after a few years of redoing the house, his family all made their way back to Whaley House, which honestly I think is really fucking awesome. By 1912, Francis and his wife Susan, Corinne Lillian, George, and their mother Anna all lived in Whaley House. Now, while I don't know, I do sincerely hope this was a time of much needed peace and healing for this family, because they have been through some shit at this point, you know?
Yeah.
So it wouldn't last very long, because on February 24th, 1913, Anna Whaley, the mother, would pass away. She was 80 years old.
Dang.
And she passed away in the house.
She's seen some shit.
She was a fucking tough lady, dude.
Yeah.
She was a badass. Not long after that, on November 19th, 1914, the next year, Francis Whaley would die, the oldest son that actually redid the house. So no more Wonderwall for anyone. So, side note, I tried to find a cause of death, and all I could find was that he suffered from rheumatism, which is like inflammation or pain in joints or muscles or tissue. Like, everyone hears the words like rheumatoid arthritis, so it's very unlikely that was the cause of his death. But it's like, it's 1914 when he died. Like, people don't know fucking anything back then. Like, the doctor was probably like, it seems he had mermaids in his blood. Such a sad way to die. Anyways, let's all have some delicious cocaine soda and suck some smoke into our lungs. It's like, people didn't fucking know anything.
Cocaine soda.
Anyways, side note, 1914 sounds kind of fucking awesome, aside from all the disease and terrible racism and horrific oppression for women and impending world wars. But anyways, George and Corinne would stay living in the home until the time of their deaths in 1928 and 1953, respectively. Corinne lived a long life. They both also died in the house. So that makes the list of Whaleys who died in the Whaley house. Thomas Jr. at 18 months old, Violet, Anna, the mom, Francis, George, and Corinne. So this is all horribly tragic and real stuff. So you're probably saying, I thought there were ghosts in this story, Adam. What the fuck? And to which I reply, oops, maybe I left out a few details so that I could Pulp Fiction you like I mentioned. So let's jump back. So now we're going to flash back to 1857, and this is when the Whaley family moves into the house.
Okay.
Thomas Jr. has not passed away yet. Things are okay. The general store is open. Directly after moving in, the family claimed that in the night, after everyone had retired, they would hear, quote, heavy footsteps moving throughout the house. When Thomas Whaley continued to hear it, he would elaborate on the sound when he spoke of it, and he stated that there were heavy footsteps that sounded like they were being made by, quote, the boots of a very large man.
Oh, shit.
Not after long, the family named the ghost that haunted their new home, and that ghost's name is, to this day, Yankee Jim.
Really?
That's who they were convinced was haunting the house. So the Whaley House site states that one source claims, and I couldn't find their source, that Anna, the mom, moved the family away after that first year because the paranormal activity was persistent and increased in severity.
Oh,
Again, this is
man.
Whaley House talking about their own house because it's a place you can go to.
Oh.
It went from heavy footfalls all over the home to windows unlatching and throwing themselves open. Remember that one.
Okay.
Visitors to the home say that you can still hear the footsteps around the house with no apparent source. Other visitors claim to see an apparition in the courthouse of a woman who actually doesn't fit the description of any of the Whaleys. So no one's quite sure who she is, but she's seen frequently in the courthouse. So keep in mind the family had terrible tragedy very quickly and moved away for quite some time. And when they came back, this tragedy like kicked up again.
Yeah.
So we
nothing
know
happened when they left.
Yeah, exactly. And when they were not there, the tragedy didn't continue. Like the father did die. And the daughter eventually, one of the daughters did die away from the house.
Yeah.
But it wasn't in the Whaley house. So, like, the Whaley house just did not carry, like, good fortune for them for a long time.
Right.
So it's said, and this one's an urban legend, that a playmate, a young girl, of the kids was over one day before they had moved, frolicking about with the Whaley children. And during this super fun, awesome time, the young girl had an accident with a low-hanging clothesline that snapped her neck, killing her instantly.
Gosh.
And as a side note, there is no record to support this. I did look. The only thing I can confirm is that this is talked about a fuck ton on the internet. And they also do mention that there's no official record on most of the sites that they found. But it's very hard to find records from back that far, you know?
Yeah.
That said, I was able to find the hanging of Yankee Jim, but I wasn't able to find an obit for, like, anyone back then.
Okay.
So her name is supposed to be either Carrie Washburn or simply Annabelle.
Really?
Yeah, dead serious. It's probably bullshit, but still, like, people say you can see the ghost of a little girl on the property. So that's the names that they think she's named. It's kind of hard to communicate. So people also claim to see Thomas Whaley himself, although he died in the other home, which I noted. And someone named June Reading, who was a former curator of the Whaley House Museum, claimed that during her time there, she was a curator for a long time too. She talked about this one specific instance. She said, quote, a little girl, perhaps 5 or 6 years old, waved to a man she said was standing in the parlor.
Oh my
We
goodness.
couldn't see him, but often children's sensitivity is greater than an adult's. Adults have seen him too, and like in period appropriate clothes. Like I don't want to describe everything he's wearing. And after he's noticed, he doesn't take long to disappear. Anna Whaley is also seen in the home. She's seen in the downstairs rooms or in the garden. And in fact, this is also really interesting. I didn't know this. Back in 1964, so a long time ago, like 53 years ago, some dingleberry named Regis Philbin.
No.
Yes, that Regis went to the house to investigate. I don't think he asked anyone if that was their final answer or if they wanted to be a millionaire.
Oh,
but he claimed the following, quote, all of a sudden, I noticed something on the wall. There was something filmy white. It looked like an apparition of some kind.
Oh, my God.
I got so excited I couldn't restrain myself because he's there with a camera crew and he's really desperate. He really wants to catch something on film. So it goes on to say, I flipped on the flashlight and nothing was there but a portrait of Anna Whaley. And like some of the descriptions.
So it's like he saw something before.
And then he lifted his flashlight or torch if you're from the UK. And all of a sudden, all that was there was the picture of her. And the other description that I've heard of this event, he talks about this, but he's not quoted, so I didn't exactly like want to source it. They say that the picture itself had like this really thick, viscous film on it when they went to investigate
Wow.
it. Visitors to the house also claim to have seen people in the windows from the outside when it's supposed to be empty inside. So like
I've heard that before.
that's super fucking creepy. They even hear the sound of a baby crying in the home with no source, which is super sad
creepy.
because it's supposed to be 18-month-old Thomas Jr.
Oh no,
Yeah.
that's horrible.
Other sightings people have had in the home include windows opening and closing on their own. That shit apparently still happens to this day.
Really?
Yes. Lights flickering, pots and pans moving on their own in the kitchen.
It's like stressing me out thinking about all these things.
And my personal favorite thing, this is so fucking creepy. The impressions of someone laying on the beds are visible when there's no one in the room.
That's creepy.
That's super fucking creepy. I love the scene, the idea of that scene of like someone sitting on a bed and the bed's flat and like you cut to their face really close, then you cut back and it's like someone sitting next to them or laying on them.
Yeah.
Or laying next to them, I should say. And then like as soon as they realize it, it just lifts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That just freaks me the fuck out. I just gave myself cold chills.
It freaks me out. Those stupid Travel Channel shows, when they show that, they show an indentation on the bed and the person trying to like flatten the bed out by yanking on the blanket, and it's not moving.
Like someone's on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh, creeps me
Good
out.
effect. So if this gets your paranormal boner going, you'll be happy to hear that on the last weekend of every month, they offer late night, quote, ghost hunting tours. And during the Halloween season, additional tours are offered.
Wow.
So we should go. So that's 2 places we're going to have to visit now. And I'm excited. The house actually isn't that huge. Like, I kept trying to find the square footage of it. Like, I wanted to fucking buy it. Because I was like, how big is this house? Like, there's a fucking dance troupe or whatever, a theater troupe in there, and a courthouse, and they rented out a bunch of fucking bedrooms
Just go
to store
to Google
records.
Maps, look it up on Google Maps.
I did. I'm trying to tell you that.
Use
like,
the tool that
I'm literally
maps
telling
the...
you right now. That's what I did.
Oh.
Like, I couldn't find the square footage, and I finally, like, just went to Google Maps and looked at it, and it's not giant. It's not huge. It's just filled with horrible things. So... it's very sad, but at the same time, like, some good stuff did happen here, but it's supposed to be, according to Time Magazine, who went there at one point, the most haunted house in the world, which I don't believe, but everyone says that sooner or later about any place that's
house,
supposed to be haunted.
any hotel.
But you can go check it out if you're in the San Diego area. So that is the Whaley house. So that's everything I have.
I had a whale of a time.
I hate you. I hate you so much. I wonder how long you've been waiting to use that terrible joke.
Just now.
Really? You just thought of that one?
Yeah.
That makes sense. Because you didn't like filter through it during the show. We were like, no, let's cut this one.
Okay.
So, but I'll leave it in there. Right on. So I'm going to do the normal wrap-up stuff. We told you guys about the contest. So every time an episode posts on Facebook, click like, comment on it. That comment should tag one of your friends. Then click share so you can share it to your own timeline. That'll give you an entry into the contest. And you can do one for each episode released between September 5th and October 5th. You can also retweet the episodes on the Twitters, and that will give you another entry. So good ways that you can enter this contest. We've talked about some prizes before. We're definitely thinking about sending you guys your favorite episode script with us signing it. I think that's just kind of cool if you guys want it. If not, we're going to also do a custom-made t-shirt. We've talked about that as well, and some other stuff that Robin's going to curate. She usually sends some really good shit. A lot of people share the boxes that we've sent out so far, and they're always very happy. So go ahead and do that. If you guys want to send us your homegrown horrors, you can email storytime@scarish.com. You can also go to facebook.com/scarishpodcast. You can like the page there. You can message us directly. You can join the group. And if you join the group, you can post your story there for some instant feedback, or you can go to Discord and do it there as well.
Yep.
You can also tweet @ScarishPod if you'd like to talk to us with 280 characters or less. And if you want to give us monies, you can go to patreon.com/scarishpodcast and sign up for a monthly donation as little as $1 a month. Or you can go to Ko-fi, ko-fi.com/scarishpodcast and make a one-time donation, which is just instant. And those will go to our studio goal to try and improve our quality. And I'm very excited that we're approaching some new stuff. I really want to get a new camera first. But camera is also the most expensive thing that we could get. So
yeah,
we will see what happens with that. We have other stuff that we could pick up as well. But everything you guys have been doing for us and supporting us with is so amazing, whether it's reviews or well wishes or just you're downloading and listening to us. Like, we appreciate everything you guys do. And, like, the people that go out of their way to donate money to us, like, we want you to know how much it really, really does help.
Yeah.
No one is obligated to do that, but if you can and you choose to, thank you so very much.
Yeah,
we really appreciate it.
Does help us out a lot. But yeah, so we really appreciate everything you guys do for us and support us and just sharing the episodes and talking about us with your friends. It's awesome.
Yeah, keep sharing us. Even if you can't share us on Facebook or Twitter, let a friend know if you think they'd be interested to check it out. And we'll keep on growing. And then hopefully we can start coming out there and meeting some of you folks.
Yeah,
so.
and seeing more of your Omen babies and you all out there in our t-shirts.
I don't know why she decided to do it that way, but she did. So I think that's just about everything we have for you for this episode of Scary-ish. So do you want to sign us out or should I?
Keep on creeping on, and we'll talk to you guys later this week.